You've been seeing the same headline. China is punishing Japan because Japan's prime minister said if China attacked Taiwan, Japan might send in its own military. That's all you hear and see. But if you look at the trade data, you'll realize you're missing something. In short, China told its citizens to avoid Japan. In the same month, it told Japanese companies to keep investing. On paper, that's a huge contradiction, but I'll show you why China's response splits into two completely different tracks, one loud, one silent. Let's start with the loud one. In November 2025, China issued a travel advisory, suspended cultural exchanges, and halted seafood imports. Arrivals fell to 330,000 in December, down 45%. China came down hard and fast. Chinese visitors made up almost a quarter of Japan's arrivals. Cut that, and China's own economy barely feels it. No major factory slows down. No real dent in state revenue. Arrivals collapsed. Investment sentiment kept climbing, even as the boycott hit. That's not a coincidence. Japan is absorbing all the tourist loss, with the Nomura Research Institute projecting a staggering 1.49 trillion yen hit to the economy. But in the same week, China told its own citizens to stop going to Japan. A senior Chinese foreign ministry official visited a Japanese factory in Dalian. He asked how business was going. He told the executives, "Keep investing, don't worry." China's own people were told to stay away from Japan. Japanese money, however, continued to pour into China at a faster pace than ever. According to China's Ministry of Commerce, Japanese investment into China jumped 55.5% in the first 3 quarters of 2025. And it didn't stop there. A January 2026 survey of Japanese firms in China found 59% planned to increase or maintain their investment, up from 56% the year before. Payment infrastructure wasn't touched either. Alipay alone is accepted at over 2 million stores in Japan, and China never restricted that. If anything, the pullback came from the other direction. Japanese retailers themselves started refusing the Chinese apps over money laundering concerns, not because Beijing told them to. So following the political spat, trips were discouraged, seafood halted, official visits cancelled, films pulled from approval. 4 major restrictions. And those restrictions inflicted real pain that showed up starkly in the results for the fiscal year that covered the boycott. Department store Takashimaya posted its first net loss in 5 years, about 8.1 billion yen, against a 39.5 billion profit the year before. J-Front Retailing, which operates stores like Daimaru and Paco, saw profit drop nearly 1/3 in the same period, to 28.2 billion yen. Osaka's flagship Hankyu store, run by H2O Retailing, saw its mainland Chinese customer sales drop by about 40% in a single month. But if you take a closer look, you'll see one area China left completely untouched. No restrictions whatsoever. Investments and payments. So why is China holding back in that one category? Because everything on that first list cost China nothing. Cutting Japanese capital would have major repercussions. China's own foreign investment was already at a 3-decade low. Cutting payment infrastructure would have hit the Chinese tourists still traveling and the merchants processing their spending. Restricting either one would mean that China would have to pay a hefty price. China may be a power player in every aspect on the planet, but Japanese capital is still very important to China. Every restriction so far follows the same rule. Touch nothing that would actually cost China money. China never paused approvals for Japanese video games either. Games that reportedly supply close to 1/3 of every foreign title licensed in the country. Cheap to cut, they cut it. Expensive to cut, they left it alone. China's restraint held for months. Then in January 2026, Beijing banned exports of dual-use goods to Japan. In February, it blacklisted 20 Japanese companies, including units of Mitsubishi Heavy Industries and Fujitsu. But look at who's on that list. Defense-linked manufacturers, not the payment apps. Target got sharper, narrow enough that it left the broader flow of Japanese capital into Chinese factories untouched. That reliance isn't new, and it's only gotten more entrenched. China finalized its next 5-year plan in the middle of this standoff, formally adopted in March 2026. It set 3 priorities: keeping manufacturing broadly open to foreign capital, direct investment towards semiconductors, EVs, and AI, and expand the industries built around them. Japanese companies already sit inside all 3, through joint ventures decades in the making. That's why China left broad investment separate from this political dispute. It has too much at stake. There's a second reason China never touched the tech relationship, even as it hammered tourism. Japan controls the overwhelming majority of the world's supply of high-end photoresist, the chemical that makes advanced chip manufacturing possible. China can only self-supply a fraction of what it needs. And this leverage runs both ways. Japan has tightened chip equipment export controls on China since 2023, with a further round in 2025. China has responded in kind. Shipments of 2 rare earth materials, dysprosium and terbium, have been at 0 for months. So China is playing aggressive in front of the world's media, but behind closed doors, it is treading delicately. One sentence in Japan's parliament, 2 completely different responses from China. Which one do you think really mattered? Tell me in the comments.